Welcome back to the Glow Up Girl podcast. I am Kyra, and thank you guys for joining. I'm so excited today. I have Debbie with us. So she is here, and we're about to have a wonderful conversation. First of all, a topic that I'm super excited to talk about. So Debbie, welcome to the Glow Up Girl podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm just really excited about our conversation today. Thank you.
Yes. Well, we're going to go ahead and dive in. So why don't you get started by telling the audience a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. My name's Debbie Ternes. I am a master certified fearless living coach and mentor. So I'm a life coach and a lifelong proponent of friendships as well. So when I work with clients, I help them to find some resolution, lots of clarity, and to really dig deep into the things that are preventing them from doing the things they want to do, which is almost always fear. Mm-hmm. So that's what I focus on. I'm so happy to be here today. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, we are talking about how to build authentic friendships. So let's go ahead and let's dive into that. And we are going to be speaking from, from a woman's point of view today. So if any of my, guys are out there listening, just bear with us, but we're talking about it from an angle in which we understand it. So Debbie, let's start with talking about why friendships are really important and why do they matter to women?
I think women need community and they need a safe place to share their thoughts and their feelings with someone who has an understanding about where they're coming from, different from, maybe if they have a male partner or something. And, they need to have a place to let their hair down, to show raw emotion. And I think friendship is really where that can be a safe place for it to happen. With the caveat, right, of it being an authentic, true friendship where there is respect and there's trust and there's love in the relationship. So I really think that has that plays a huge factor in why women need that. Needing the connection, right?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think community. And you said words that this was a reason why we connected because it just resonates with what I do at Glow Up Girl. You said safe space, community, like that. Those are so important for women just to feel like you have a place where you can go and talk about whatever, and there will be somebody who understands exactly what you're talking about. And you're not someone who's just trying to speak reason or love. Well, let me tell you how to do it. And I'm just only using my own personal experiences because I know when my husband, and if I'm trying to tell him about something that maybe happened at work and he's like, yeah, but have you thought? I'm like, I didn't tell you because I wanted you to try to logically talk me off the ledge about it. I'm telling you because I want you to hear me and understand what I'm going through.
Yeah. And sometimes we need our friends to just jump on the bandwagon and not even ask any questions, right? But it's in it with you, right?
Exactly. It's just
rationalization, no reasoning. They're just in it with you.
Yeah. Just be here. I know I had a friend that called me one day this week and she's like, look, I'm just calling the vent. And I was like, oh, I got it, girl. Come on, call. And it was just she just went on and, vented. And she was like, I'm sorry. I was like, you don't have to ever tell me you're sorry about venting because I've called you and said, girl, let me tell you this. I can't text this. Let me talk to you. And, I said, so that's what we're here for, is just for those moments. Like you said, it's that was the moment where it was just get on the bandwagon, jump on with me. Let me tell you how horrible this person is and this, what they did. And I'm like, yeah, they are a horrible person.
Well, and I think the important piece there was something really important that you said at the very beginning of that was she called you and said, I just want to vent. Right. And I think it's important when we call our friends, when we're having those kinds of moments, is really to set the tone for the direction we want the conversation to go.
Right.
So then our friends know how to best be there and show up for us. Right. Do you want to talk about a solution at the end? No, I just need to get it off my chest. And
exactly.
it validates them. We feel heard when we're actually allowed to like, you know, like it's a verbal barfing sometimes, right? To just get it all out.
Right.
You just want to be heard. There's really no, usually, and I think you'll probably agree with me, we know the answer, right? The solution to the problem, but we just have to process those emotions, those thoughts, those feelings, right? Just got to get it out of my body, because that's not healthy to hold it in either.
Yeah, no, that's so true. That's definitely true. So what is your advice for someone who may be out there and saying, you know, how do I even make friends now? How do I find new friends? Like, how can they go about that, especially during this time?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And my friend Sherry and I, who co-founded the Authentic Friendships groups, we just did a webinar on this a few weeks ago. And so we came up with a lot of different places that you can actually go to make new friends. I think it really starts with the mindset of being open and curious, right? Because it's interesting how you might have a judgment about somebody, whether they're a possible friend or not, like that instant judgment, right? That puts our walls up and prevents us from being curious, from being open, and, you know, having an open mind and an open heart and an attitude of curiosity. So there's lots of places that you can meet new friends. Like church groups are great, right? Networking groups. Meetup.com is a great place to go to find people who have the same interests as you, who want to go do things in person. Now, the last year, of course, it's all virtual, which we've totally taken advantage of. There's Facebook groups, right, that have interests. There's music events, walking and hiking groups, crafting groups, art groups, right? I didn't know this, but I recently found out, like at some of the big crafting stores, they do classes. So you can go there and do the things that you like to do and connect with other people who are doing that as well. So you have that general thing in common. So you have a place to start. Right. So that's sometimes really helpful. You know, if you're more of an introvert, that might be a little bit harder. So really it comes back to, okay, set an intention for what you want to do. Like, is your goal to meet, like, say hello to 3 people? I mean, you can start out slow. It doesn't have to be like this big, huge undertaking, you know? Right. Chat with the person behind you or in front of you at the grocery store. But here's the thing that I want to say about that. Oftentimes we connect through negative things, right? Oh my God, this line's so long, blah, 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 you know? You know, ask something curious. If they have something interesting in their basket, ask them how they're going to prepare that food, or do they have a great recipe for that? You know, just open the conversation with something that might be a little bit unusual, because it might engage people at a different level than just complaining. Because who needs more complaining partners, right? I'm pretty sure we all have enough of those.
Exactly. No, I think that's a really, so those are some great ways to meet people. And I do think too, like the whole last year with the virtual, you know, being virtual, it gave us a different opportunity and a different way to connect, you know, to people that you may, you know, like in person, you may not have like walked up to somebody and said like, hello, that you may have had an interest, or like, you know, I'd like to say hello to that person. But I definitely think like even for me last year, like I was doing like Zooms with people that, you know, I was meeting on like Instagram through Glow Up Gyrl, and just like having like 20-minute conversations with people, because it was like, why not? You know, this was like the first time that I'd ever had that opportunity to like really, like you say, be curious and meet some other people that weren't already like in my circle. So it's like you could still do, even, you know, now as things reopen and we start to go back out, I mean, you can still sort of keep that same curiosity and like maybe set a goal to say like, oh, I'm gonna reach out to like 2 people, you know, start small, like I'm gonna reach out 2 people per month and like meet those people, have a 15-minute call or something, and just get to know somebody different.
Yeah. The other thing that's been really interesting too is I've been going to different networking things, and because everything's Zoom, right? I get to do it all over the world, which is really kind of cool. So you get a lot of exposure, like new cultural experiences and perspectives, right? That really broaden your mind. And what I love about that is they do a lot of like smaller breakout rooms. So then you get to really have those deeper conversations and connect with people and really start to expand. And that's been really fascinating as well. You know, the other thing you talk about, setting the small goals. I mean, you can Google icebreaker questions, right? And there are like a gazillion questions that you can just have like in your notes on your phone. You know, like maybe you pick 2 questions that you're going to use that week to connect with people. And even with the people who are currently in your life, because there's a lot of things you'd like to know about the people in your circle, but you just have never asked. Like I recently found out this friend of mine, I've been friends with her for 14 years. I met her through a coaching community and we have a really great friendship. I didn't know she was a singer. Okay. Like I recently found this out. I'm like, you sing? Like I had no idea. Right. But because we've spent so much more time together, because we're able to do it, because the expectation now is about Zoom, right? It just has really deepened my friendships with a lot of people that I would not have had that opportunity with before.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I do. I do. I like that. Now, what elements make friendships real and meaningful?
So with authentic friendships, we have a program that we put together, and we have 5 pillars of authentic friendships. So and this is of course from our own experience and our own expertise and our, working with our clients. So one is availability, right? Really figuring out who's available and are they available at the level that works for you, and vice versa. Reciprocity. Is your friendship balanced in a way that feels good for both of you? Mutual respect. I know we spoke privately about that a little bit earlier, but really respecting one another, even when we don't agree or don't like what they're doing, right?
Right.
Trust is huge, right? Creates a safe and sacred space. And growth. Growth is really important too. So we allow each other to grow and expand, and we celebrate that with one another. We support each other in that. And it's not a competition. Like she's not getting ahead of me because she had this wonderful, amazing experience. I get to be the witness and hold the space and cheer her on. And she does that for me as well. So I think that those are really important elements in friendships. And the other thing too is knowing your values is really important in helping decide if a friendship really is in alignment for you. So that you're not compromising your own boundaries, you're not doing things that you ordinarily wouldn't do, or it pushes you to be a little bit out of integrity, those kinds of things too. So I think that that's a really important component as well.
Right. No, I love those, because everything that you mentioned, like that's so important. And I think one of the things, a lot of things stood out to me, but I'm definitely going to say about growth and being there to celebrate your friends. What advice do you have for someone? Because I know how I feel about this personally, but definitely want to hear from you about, what happens in friendships where, you've known somebody for a really long time, or you've known them for like maybe 5 years, you've known somebody for over 15 years, and you begin to grow apart. You begin to outgrow maybe those relationships. What advice would you give to someone on how to handle that?
I think that happens for a lot of us, right? Everybody goes their different directions. They have kids, they get a new job, they move away, they have a different relationship, right? And friendships naturally just go to the wayside. I think being able to look at, like having gratitude and being able to look at how did that friendship benefit you in the past? And then how do you want to handle that, right? Going forward. Is this relationship valuable enough to maintain at a smaller level where there's less expectation, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
The other piece of it, when friendships fall apart or they go to the wayside, there's an element of grief in there. And I think we often forget about that.
Mm-hmm.
So really looking at what is it that you're missing from what you used to have in that relationship, and
Mm-hmm.
processing the grief part of that. Because it's okay to be sad that you're no longer friends,
Mm-hmm.
and this applies to all relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when we're in romantic relationships and they fall apart, oftentimes we're grieving what we thought we were going to get out of the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Same with our friendships. They're not showing up for us the way that we want them to anymore. And for whatever reason, they can't. You can have a conversation with them and to see if there's any way that you can renegotiate your friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe have it look a little bit different, or sometimes it's just easier to let the natural resolution happen, but that doesn't mean to ignore things that are hurtful or harmful.
Mm-hmm.
That really has to be dealt with.
Right. Yeah, I think that's very true. But I like your advice, because I think that, like you said, it's sort of natural that sometimes happens. I remember when I was a little bit younger, and I would, I had a friend that started a family. And for me, I mean, I didn't, I wasn't like, oh my God, like, you don't call me, you don't have time. I was like, well, you got a kid now, and I don't have a kid. So our lives are very different. You have a different set of priorities, whereas I have these priorities. So it was very like, for me, I was living in the sense of like, oh, okay, well, yeah, she's a mom. I expected things to change. But then I think on her side, it was very much like she didn't expect for it to change. And so then when we got together, it was awkward, because, we were trying to sort of rekindle this like friend, or trying to put our friendship back where it was. But the truth of the matter is that, I mean, we had changed as people. We'd had different, she had different priorities. I had different priorities. And but I was okay with that, because I'm like, yeah, guess what? You're always going to be my friend. I'm always going to love you and want the best for you, even if we're not like together every day, or we don't talk every day, or we don't talk every, weekend or whatever. So I think, like you said, sometimes people have to take that step back and sort of figure out, like, what do you want out of the friendship or the relationship? And like, how can you, like you said, renegotiate the terms almost of like what you expect from those relationships? Because I have a friend that like I love, so like we can go like 3, 4, 5 months and not talk. But as soon as we pick up the phone and talk, like, it's just like we talked yesterday. Mm-hmm. And there's never any like feelings of, oh my God, you didn't check on, you didn't do this, you didn't do, like, it just like, I just know like she's busy. She has a life. I'm busy. I have a life. And we text, periodically. But when we get back together, it is just like nothing, like we talked the other day.
You know what that is? That's trust, right? Because nobody's taking anything personal. They're not making up stories and about, oh my gosh, like you said, oh, she's ignoring me. I can't believe she didn't answer my text. Like all of that stuff. That's about the trust in the friendship, that it can evolve and grow and shift and change. And you still have that connection and that desire to continue, right? Mm-hmm. It all comes down to communication. I think that the breakdown in everything really happens when there's breakdown in the communication and our expectations about what we think it should be, right? Yeah. You got to have that willingness to be able to see the other person's perspective and be open and compassionate and empathetic about that as well. And, like I said, if this is a friendship that you value, you'll either have the conversations or you'll figure out a way that it works for you and you still feel good when you're together and when you're apart.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. So how do you develop the kind of new friendships and sense of community that you're looking for?
So that's kind of a loaded question, but here's the interesting thing. And I usually get jaw droppage when I say these statistics, but there's statistics that say a like general basic beginner friendship takes between 20 and 40 hours of time spent together to really develop a friendship.
Mm-hmm.
It takes between 60 and 80 hours of time spent together to have kind of a good friendship. Mm-hmm. But in order to have like a BFF, best friend it takes 200 plus hours of time spent together to create a friendship that's at that level. Mm-hmm. So it's not surprising that people who, when you go to a job, right, you're spending many hours with people, mm-hmm. right? You're going to the cafeteria to get coffee, or you're going, to the mall at lunchtime. So you're spending half an hour a day, an hour a day. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're doing stuff on the weekends together, right? So the number of hours starts adding up more quickly. Mm-hmm. But when you're a solopreneur, there's a lot more effort involved in creating those, because you've got to make a conscious effort mm-hmm. to like add up those hours. So right. It gives you a perspective of what to look for. Like, you're not going to, meet somebody, have a 1 hour chat, and now you're friends.
Right.
It might inspire you to continue having more conversations, get together more. Mm-hmm. If you like the person, you're vibing or whatever. Excuse me, but it takes hours. So it's, a lot of times, when you go to workshops or you go to conferences and things of that nature, you're spending a lot of concentrated hours, right, in a place where you have a common interest. So mm-hmm. it's easy to make friends at those types of things. And so that's why we recommend that people go to the events that have their interest, because that's mm-hmm. where they're going to find the people who are going to do the things that they like to do. Mm-hmm. And you have the opportunity to spend more time, right, to start building those relationships.
Mm-hmm. I like that. And that's very true. I mean, when you work with people, like a lot of the friends that I have today were people that I was working with projects with, started going to lunch with, going to coffee. And then after a while it started, like you said, turn into like weekend things. And pretty soon we were, friends. Yeah. So that's very true.
So if you break it down to like the hours, like having that perspective, mm-hmm. it's helpful in knowing where you are in the process and having a better understanding of why you do or you don't have friends.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I like that. Yeah, I never thought about it like that, or, in the terms of, in my head, of course, I was over here I was dividing. I was like, 200 hours. Okay, let's divide that by that's a person who isn't great at math. Okay, so just putting that out there. Because I was thinking to myself, I was like, where's the calculator?
Sorry. That's great. Oh, I love that.
So what inspired you to start your Authentic Friendships group?
So my friend Sherry and I, we met 16 years ago when we were going through our coach training. Okay. I live in California. She lives in Minneapolis. So we maintained our friendship for many years because we were very mm-hmm. active in the coaching community. And so we were going to workshops, supporting in the back of the room. We really felt like we matched up really well. And mm-hmm. so we would share accommodations, right, to save money when we were going to the events. So we really built our friendship over the years. Mm-hmm. About 4 years ago, we thought, we want to do some work. We want to do workshops together. So we put mm-hmm. together the Authentic Friendships. We had a 2-day workshop that we were planning, and it just didn't go. We didn't get the enrollment that we wanted. So mm-hmm. we kind of shelved it. And then when the pandemic hit, we realized that it wasn't going away. And what we were hearing from our private clients and from people in the circles that we are in, women were lonely. They were feeling mm-hmm. isolated. I mean, there was a lot of people who lived alone, right? They don't have mm-hmm. anybody, no pet, nothing. It was so isolating. We thought, what the heck? Let's put up a Facebook group and see what happens, right? Mm-hmm. So we did that last year on May 15th. our big goal was to have 100 women in the group by year end. Okay, so after a year now, so we just celebrated our 1 year anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
We have over 1,400 ladies in the Facebook group. We also, because Meetup pivoted, right, and you could do virtual events on Meetup, we opened 9 Meetup groups around the US. And I just met with Sherry yesterday, and we have 4,326 ladies between our Meetup groups and our Facebook groups.
Awesome.
And it really was just to support women and give them a place to share, to connect. I mean, we've had family members connect in the group, which is awesome. Military wives come and connect, right? Because being a military wife, you move around a lot. You got to make friends everywhere you go. It's just been amazing. It's just been amazing. We do Tea Tuesday once a month. We do happy hour once a month. And we have, we've had up to 55 women at those events when they happen. So it's just really fun. We do breakout rooms. They get to chat with each other. We do, we called it the Spring into Friendship matchups. So they filled out a short questionnaire, and then we would match people up, and they would spend the month connecting and meeting new friends, which is really great because it provides the connection. It gives them the practice to build their, meeting friends muscle, right? And they're having a really great time. We've had women say, this group's been a lifesaver for me during this really hard time. And it makes me a little weepy, right? Because that's what we really wanted to do. We wanted people to feel safe and have comfort and connection. It's really, really important to have that. And I feel so honored that I was able and still continue to provide a platform for women to do that. So does that answer your question?
That's awesome. No, that's great. I love that. I think that's awesome because you're right. There were a lot of people who were by themselves and didn't have somebody, in the house with them, or like you said, even having a pet. And so I think that was an amazing thing to start and have that platform. So that they knew they always had somebody there that could listen, or someone who could, just talk to them, because there were, we all know there were months where in the beginning, we were just like, you didn't know, like, how long will this last? You just didn't know.
It put a lot of stress on friendships as well, like just with everything that was going on. So there were a lot of friendships that either got better, maybe didn't hold, like there was just so much, right? So it just really provided that really nice space for them.
Yeah, because you're right. Yeah, people deal with things different ways. So, you had some people who were withdrawing from people, and where you had some people who were just like, let's virtual happy hour every Thursday, like to sort of keep it like keep the friends like all together in one place. So I think that's really cool. And I think that even anybody out there, like if you're just looking to connect to someone new, or just find some add to your circle, like that is an excellent idea to check out their group. Go on, get matched up with somebody. I love that idea. That's really cool. So Debbie, can you tell us about your coaching programs that you offer?
Sure. So for my private coaching business, I offer one-on-one coaching, which I love to do. And I also do a lot of work around accountability. So I have a new accountability program coming up. It's going to be launching in August. And so it's going to be a weekly accountability group. I also do a lot of work around confidence building, because it can be easy when we're ready to do it, right? And it can be hard. I also have some free events, and all of these things you can find on my website. And with Authentic Friendships, we have an authenticfriendships.com website as well. And we do webinars and workshops. We do workshops on values. So you get to identify your values, what you bring to a friendship, and what you look for in friends.
Hmm.
And they can be sometimes very different, which is interesting.
Hmm.
And then we also have an all-day workshop that we dive into the 5 pillars of authentic friendship. So really looking at, how does this apply to you? How do you define it? Because one of the things I've learned in coaching, right, is everybody can define things very differently.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about really looking at what it is, your own perspective, and then seeing what the other perspective might be.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we've got going on, in addition to our free, tea time and happy hour. And we did our first game night. That was really fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
You can't beat a good game night. It's always so interesting. It's an interesting topic to me, because, when you are in jobs and you work with teams of people, and, you're talking about, people being accountable for like their individual pieces and parts. I am always a person in our like team meetings where I'm just like, come on, guys, like everybody's responsible for like your part. Like you can't wait for me to have to follow up and ask you like, well, have you done that yet? So what seems to be so very easy for like someone like, myself, where I'm just like, well, yeah, like if it's your thing, do it, stay on top of it. But a lot of people like just don't really, don't get that.
Yeah. And, I've really come to the conclusion that being accountable, you can't really ever be accountable to somebody else. You're always accountable to yourself.
Right.
But what happens is when we make an external person responsible for us completing things, it feels easier. And so when I work with people, and if that's the method that's going to get them there, that's fine, right? If you tell me you're going to do something and now you feel more obligated to complete that because you shared that with me, for me, that's really just, you put that out into the universe for everybody to witness and hear. And so now you're creating a bigger, broader circle of your own accountability.
Right.
Because then when you start showing up, it demonstrates your integrity. It builds trust with your family, your friends, your coworkers, your bosses, with your circle of influence, right? When you do the things that you say you're going to do, it builds trust. And who doesn't want to be trusted?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So true. Yeah, so true. And then when you don't do it.
Well, and that's information too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And one of the things that I teach, and people rarely think about this possibility, right? There's always room to renegotiate. Like if you made a commitment and circumstances or situations have changed, again, it goes back to communication, right? Have a conversation, talk about why it didn't happen. But there's shame in there, there's embarrassment, there's fear, there's all of those different elements. And so that's what I work with them on, to help them get to the place where they're no longer ashamed, that now they're having the courage and the bravery to have the conversations that are necessary to be more successful, to really skyrocket to where they want to be in their lives, right? To have those transformations and to really be able to ultimately have a really joyful, satisfying life. Because I mean, for me, I just want people to have fun. I want them to feel loved and seen and heard and appreciated and valued. And it all does start with us, right? But sometimes we can't. I mean, if it was that simple, we wouldn't need people like us, right?
Right. Yeah, no, you wouldn't. But I think, yeah, definitely, I agree with you. And I love that, because you're right. It is about like that fear and embarrassment when you are getting close to something and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to meet that deadline, or I told them I was going to do this, but I can't do it. And you're right. Most times people just do nothing versus just saying, hey, I'm actually not going to be able to get that done. Can I have a few more days, or, can I move something? So I definitely understand that and think that that's great to have. And you're right. With the accountability, like when people, sometimes you just need to put it out there. And if you put it out there, then someone else can hold you to that. I mean, that happens to me, I've got coaches, and that happens in like my, entrepreneur life, because a lot of times my 9 to 5 life like takes over, and I'm just so like, doing the, okay, but you said you were going to do this thing and this thing by the end of like May. How's that looking for you? Like, well, let me tell you.
Yeah. And when you have an accountability partner like that, right? And they ask you those questions, you get to have, sorry, I point when I get excited. You get to decide and look at your own, you get to be honest with yourself.
Exactly.
Right? You get to be honest with yourself.
Yep. That is so true. Yep. So I definitely, everybody out there listening, I always say, because like getting a coach, having someone to hold you accountable is like the best thing in the world, because when you have a coach, it's like they're your accountability partner. They're also like your biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
And they also are there to listen as well. So if you have their coaching sessions sometimes where I'm just like, no, I'm just venting today. I'm just venting. I'm just going to get all of it out. But it's so great because, we, especially when you're juggling, like anybody who's an entrepreneur, like full-time or part-time, you have so much that you're trying to juggle and stay afloat. And sometimes having that accountability helps you to like prioritize and figure out like what should you really be following, or are you just chasing a lot of things because you have a lot, because I'm a person that I have a lot of ideas, so whenever ideas come, I think I'm like,
yeah,
I'm gonna try yeah. but having coaches, like, it helps because it's like, no, like maybe no, let's table that. But I think I'm also getting better at too, because I'm like, I start to think like, now, is this something I need to spend my time on like right now, or is this something that I can put in the parking lot and then come back to it when I've got more time to actually explore it? So
yeah,
finally took some time, but I got there.
Yeah. And I love that, right? When you have, the thing is with a coach, they're not personally well, we are, because we love our clients, right? But from a personal standpoint, right, we're not invested in that like your friends would be, right? In the day-to-day emotional stuff. We get to have it, we look at it from a different standpoint and can ask you the hard questions to look at it from maybe a different perspective or think about it in a new way.
Exactly. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, because your friends are there to support, and every time you have a great idea, they think it's a great idea, and they're gonna, tell you, go for it, and and that's their job. That's their job as a friend. So, but yep, the coach, the coach is gonna tell you, I don't think that's smart. Bring me back a plan for that. Well, that's awesome. Well, no, this was great, Debbie. Thank you so much. We are going to move into now the 5 things segment, where we learn 5 things about you, sort of the inner workings of the mind of Debbie.
Okay.
And also, I love that I'm very animated with my hands too. So, I mean, you don't have to hold. I saw you were like this. I was like, nope, girl, point those hands, point those fingers.
People can't get too close to me.
Yeah, I'm like super like animated too, so I know. Well, all right, let's start with the first question is, how do you start the day?
I start my day, I rarely use an alarm clock. I'm at a point in my life where I get up when my body's ready to get up, and that feels fantastic. Yeah. I've been doing daily writing, and I have my coffee and my protein shake. And then sometimes I go to my office in my robe, or sometimes I shower and get dressed. Depends on the day, but definitely I have my coffee, I do my writing and my protein shake. So getting my body ready is super important for me.
Yeah, love that. Love that. What is one project that you're working on this year that you're really excited about? And if you can, would you share it with us?
Sure. So one of my big projects is putting together my accountability groups. So that's been a big undertaking for me, like the process of figuring out what's going to work, and like all the ideas, right? I had a gazillion, right? And so that's the project. I want to support people in being successful. And so that's what I've been working on for my personal business. For authentic friendships, Sherry and I are wanting to put on a retreat and maybe even a friendship cruise for people. So that's kind of a bigger 2-3 year goal, but we're also working on that too. Super, super excited about that.
I love that. I think that'd be super fun. Okay, so tell me one thing that motivates you.
Motivates me. I think learning motivates me.
Okay.
I love to learn. It's just exciting. There's so much out there.
Yeah. That's definitely true. I always tell people, I'm like, you should always be learning and evolving, because if you're not, then it's like, why are you even here? Because there's so much out there. I mean, I did get some crazy looks. I said that to like a team, like when I went to the job I'm at now, and I went to team, and I was like, I said, like, guys, like what, learning is like awesome. You should always be adding, knowledge and learning things. And I was like, if you're not learning, you just may as well like be dead. And they were all like, yeah, the faces were like,
yeah. Good thing HR wasn't there, right?
I know. They were like, who's this lady? I'm like, well, I'm just saying, the lady that likes to learn. So what is one affirmation that you speak to yourself? That I threw that one in.
So my affirmation is, I am living a life of optimum health and vitality.
Awesome. I like that. And last, how do you end the day?
End the day, usually I review my calendar so that I know what's up for the next day. I always make sure my desk is cleaned off, always make sure the dishes are done. And then I just sit down on the couch with my big jug of water and my man, and we just sit. Sometimes the TV's on, sometimes it's not. We have a really great conversation, or we don't, and that's okay too.
I love that. Yes, I love that. Well, Debbie, thank you so much for dropping in with me today. Before I go, tell everybody out there again how they can find you online and connect to you.
Excellent. So I have a website. It's debbieternes.com. It's DebbieTernes.com. Also on Facebook, same name. Also on Instagram, same name. And we also have an authentic friendships group on Facebook for women. So check that out. And we also have an authenticfriendships.com website. So it has all of our events and information about Sherry and myself and what we've got coming up.
Okay, great. Well, and I will also drop all these links into the show notes so that you can easily find them. So excellent. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you again. You're always welcome to come back and chat with me. I hope you have all the success in 2021, 2022, and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back.